It was just one of those things.
First and foremost, I just want to thank you for coming to Las Vegas. I mean,
My
this
pleasure.
is one of those fun cities, hopefully for you.
I love it. It's one of my favorite towns.
And one of the things that makes it interesting is that there is no set demographic. There's no set age. I mean, the history of this town goes as far back as you want it to, essentially. I mean, have you always felt that way when you've come to Las Vegas?
Yeah, I never really, well, in general, you know, unless I'm playing in, you know, a country and I know that, you know, 100% of the people are going to be from that country, which is never really the case. I don't really think about, you know, age and demographic anyway, but now that you mention it, yeah, there's like all kinds of people that come here, and it's cool. I like that, you know, because you get different perspectives from people that are responding to different things, so that makes it interesting for me.
And this celebration of Cole Porter, like, where did it come from that you were like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Cole Porter fan as well, and unfortunately I'm also a movie guy, so every time I think of Cole Porter, I think of Temple of Doom with Anything Goes for some reason. It tends to be that Anything Goes, but I mean, there's so many great songs. Like, what was it about Cole Porter that this wanted to be your next kind of, I guess, love letter?
Yeah, well, I did, I changed record labels, so I went with Verve Records, and after 30 years of being with the same company, I asked Verve, you know, what they thought they might like me to do, and I had a couple of ideas about albums, because I'm always thinking about different, you know, types of recordings I could make, and one of the ideas was to do a Cole Porter album, because I had never done a songbook album, which is, as you know, it's a collection of songs by the same composer, and Cole Porter's always kind of been my favorite. If I were to pick one, he would have been my favorite. So when I mentioned to the label, hey, what do you think about a Cole Porter album? They said, oh man, we love that. So that's why I did it.
And I mean, luckily you had a pretty big catalog. I mean, the man has made hundreds and hundreds of songs, right?
Yeah.
So how do you choose between those songs? You know, Anything Goes, Night or Day, I Get a Kick Out of You, Let's Do It. You know, where do you kind of start picking those out?
Well, I picked the ones that I know, and the ones that I knew I wanted to do. And then there were some that I just did some digging through the catalog and found some songs that were a little bit off the beaten path. So there were those, and it was just a combination of the familiar ones and the not so familiar ones until I had enough to make an album. And
when you put together the music, that's great, but you have to figure out how big you want and how intimate you want your show to be. Like,
right.
where did that come from? Where did you decide this is where I want the audience to be? I don't want them to be out there. I want them to be here.
That's a great question, because the album is a big album, and we just did a run on Broadway where it's a huge show with giant sets and video stuff going on and props and choreography. You know, 28 people in the orchestra. And I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to play this music in an intimate way. And that's a little bit of a challenge, because, especially in Vegas, because people are coming out, they see the biggest shows in the world here, so biggest in terms of production. So it'll be fun to go out with a smaller group of musicians just playing music. And I think and I hope that people enjoy that.
And just the way you were mentioning, you know, from one breath to another, Broadway, you know, revivals of The Pajama Game, and then you do, you know, the premiere of The Sting, and then writing a score for Thou Shalt Not. I mean, there's so much fun there. You know, where was it that it's just like, is it a different meal that you have to eat next? I mean, is that what it is for you?
It's a great analogy. It's like, you know, you eat pizza for a while, and then you say, oh, I could go for some Chinese food, and it's all food, and I need all of it for sustenance. It's just a matter of picking what the meal's going to be. And the thing about Broadway is that you have to have a lot of lead time, especially if you're writing the score, or like this last Broadway run I did. I wrote like 1,400 pages of scoring for this show, and it's just it's a massive amount of work. So you have to make sure that, you know, we're all in on this, because, you know, there's not going to be a lot of time for anything else.
And when it comes to scoring, I mean, you know, when you look at that undertaking, do you think now, like, what is it like when someone else goes after, like, movies? Like a John Williams goes after a movie, you know? I've done a Broadway show, but then there's movies. I mean, have you ever thought about that next step yourself? I mean, you've been in some films yourself, so that's always an option.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny, the musicians that do those movie scores, there's kind of a society of them, and I think unless you really pursue that society to be a part of that group, they don't really think of you in those terms. So I haven't really thought about going after that, and they have people like John Williams and Hans Zimmer, and the woman who just won the Oscar. I'm blanking out of her name right now.
Yeah.
So at some point, it's something I'd love to do, but it's something that you really, again, have to sort of say, okay, this is what we're doing.
Right. But at one time, they were just a member of Oingo Boingo or Devo
That's
as well,
right, that's
before
right.
they became their own soundtrack connoisseur too.
That's right. That's right.
And you know what? I'm a film guy at heart. I'm a film critic too. So I have to ask you, 30 years since Memphis Belle. Is there any thought going back to that first role, and any thoughts on, being part of that film?
It was just an amazing experience. I was a kid, 20, 21 years old. They said, you want to come to England for 4 months and make this movie with John Lithgow and David Strathairn and Matthew Modine, and the list goes on of the incredible performers I got to work with. And it was just an incredible introduction because it was an ensemble cast, and so I got to be around a lot of great actors who had a lot of experience, and just enjoyed the learning experience of it. It was kind of a movie to help me understand whether I wanted to do this or not, and it was a perfect sort of introduction into it.
Same thing with Independence Day, 25 years almost now as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you're like, did you ever think, well, you know what, it's aliens, they could bring them back to life maybe? Like,
Yeah,
there should be
heck
some
yeah.
option, why
yeah,
not?
That'll be fun. I had a blast doing it. I was only there a couple of days, but it was fun.
Yeah, and then there's some news out right now as well, if I can ask. Another P.S. I Love You might be coming out as well. What are your thoughts about adding another chapter to that world?
Hilary Swank's a dear friend, and I just think she's terrific. I would assume that she's going to be in it, and if they see me in it, I would love to read the script because I had a great time doing the first one, so if they do a second one, it would be something to consider for sure.
Yeah. And one thing I bring up because I have some friends who worked with you on your talk show.
Oh,
and they
cool.
had nothing but positive things to
Oh,
say
that's
about
so
you.
cool.
So much fun. But I have to ask, a fellow American Idol, Kelly Clarkson, did you give her any thoughts or any words about her getting her own talk show or some of the things to watch out for?
I haven't seen her show, but I know she's going to be great. She's a great lady, and she was on my show once or twice, and she doesn't need my advice. I'm sure she's going to do fine.
And then I guess the last thing is, when it comes to Las Vegas, Las Vegas is one of those places where it feels like it could be like New York and Broadway, where you can catch the greatest shows ever, but also it seems so far away. Like, what do you do when you see the rest of Las Vegas and you think that this, it's more than just maybe the Strip sometimes?
Oh, yeah. No, it's an amazing city. There's a huge community here, and I don't know the community here. I've been here lots of times, but usually it's for work. But anytime I've sort of ventured out and seen, the incredible school systems you guys have, and just the culture here, it's very cool.
All right, and then for Cole Porter, if you were to say, like this is the way I want you guys to feel. Like, well, what do you want to impart to people who come out to Cole Porter, to come out to your show? What is something that you want them to walk away with?
Well, I want them to have a great experience, whether it's Cole Porter or not. But most people don't even know who Cole Porter was. So if they could learn a little bit about Cole Porter and his songs, I think that would be great. But essentially, I want them to come and have a good experience and walk out and say, wow, that was a pretty cool show. And
as somebody who scores and puts so many different bands and music together, I have to ask, in the shower, what's your song?
Depends. I like to sing in the shower, but it just depends.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be.
Or do you just start with a melody? Are you the melody guy who just hums and that's it?
No, I'll sing like especially if it's a song like Anything Goes, where I have to learn a lot of lyrics. I'll usually spend a little time working on those lyrics.
Do you make sure your acoustics in your bathroom are on point?
They just somehow are. I wish we should get architects and plumbers to design stages, because they're pretty good at it.
That's fantastic. Well, we look forward to anything you do, and you know what? I hope as many Las Vegans and anyone who's here gets a chance to see this show.
Thank you.
I want you to have as much fun and to come back too. You've got some great other cities to go to as well, but I hope that we mark a great start for this tour for you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Have a great day.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. Pleasure.
That's great. I think we're done for today.